Welcome to A Woman's Brew, where women talk about beer. In today's episode, we're not whining, but we are investigating beers that are made to be fit for red wine enthusiasts. I'm Joanne and this is Tori.
Hello.
And we're two beer-loving women on a mission to get more people drinking and talking about great beer. Come join us. Same space, look,
and we've managed to just be we managed to like get a really comfortable setup as well, like in a hotel room. We're in a hotel room,
so fancy
in Sheffield.
A Woman's Brew is on the road, but we still want to provide you with excellent content, so here we are.
I'm not being funny either, we upgraded to business class.
We did
for our hotel rooms, and it is
so that we could do this
chair is the luxury you get with business class. I'm really loving it. It's comfortable. But today we're not just beer loving women, we are wine appreciating.
We're wine drinking women.
I was gonna say,
I'm still not a massive fan of wine.
I'm not a massive yes, I mean I like a good wine, but I'm very like picky with my wine. What's your relationship with wine? I find that I like a really good one, but then I've got the expensive taste of like, I can't just drink a cheap wine, so I don't drink it.
Right.
But I'm spoiled because like my in-laws will buy like the expensive red wines and stuff like that. I like you look for a black. Here's a top tip. Look for a black rooster that's on the label of a red wine, and that's a Chianti Classico, which means it has to meet all this criteria to be from the Chianti region, the Tuscan area of Italy. And those are like some of the best red wines I've had. I learned about that in Italy. Delightful. So literally I was like, now I'm like, I quite like these now, but they don't tend to be always the cheapest options by any means. But I find I just drink beer too much that I don't really make a lot of time for wine.
So before I was drinking beer, I would drink a bit of wine. I've never really developed a taste for red wine, which is interesting, seeing as I really like a dark beer.
And it's complex.
Yeah. I just never really, I mean, to be fair, I've not really had a red wine since I've developed my beer palate. So I wonder, so it'd be interesting. We've got
a red wine. So we're going to cover red wine and a rosé.
So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what I think now, because I don't think I've had a red wine since I've developed my beer palate. So I may well pick out different things from it than I did before. I have always enjoyed a very sweet wine. So I like an Asti or a Riesling. The cheap ones.
I was going to say,
the cheap sweet white ones are I was always happy with those.
To be fair, I was the same in the sense of like I'd like sweet and not so much the red. Like when it comes to red wine, like I would even have a rosé. Like a rosé is fine as long as it was like a sweeter one. Yeah. Because I just didn't like that. Yeah. Depth of like it was warm. Like I always found them like too warming and too like
it's the alcohol. But that's the alcohol content, isn't it? So these are going to be up there with an imperial stout or a barley wine or something. So
what is this?
That's 13.5.
13.5. The rosé is 8.5. But maybe that's why I've always kind of preferred the rosé to I had
a bad night on rosé one night, so you know how that taints.
The worst is when you have like a bad night on cheap wine though, because that makes you feel.
I don't think it was
really.
It was when I was on cruise ships and it was in the crew bar, so it probably wasn't a particularly cheap one. It wasn't a particularly expensive one.
I was going to say, I think I always find that I feel worse if I have the cheaper wine, but then also I think it's because when it's the more expensive wine, I'm not drinking it in the same way as like the cheaper wine, if you know what I mean. But I just don't. I've always liked the sweeter one. Like Riesling was always sort of my jam. I still love a good Riesling, but even with that, I don't really. Beer takes up too much of my drinking time.
I will pick a beer. I just will pick a beer over wine. If there's nothing else on offer, then I'll have a wine. Like when I went on the Disney cruise, there wasn't a great selection of beer, so I shared wine with my friend. But I would rather use my calories and my ABV amount on a beer than I would on a wine. That's just me.
But I think like sort of the idea of today. Obviously last week we've done sort of white wines and sparkling wines and all that. This week it's red wine, rosé. I think the goal of what we want to get out of this potentially is if you are a person that really likes red wine and you don't really like beer as much, but you want to kind of get into it more, you want to appreciate it more, or you've got a loved one that maybe really likes red wine that you want to get into beer. Hopefully some of the stuff that we have today, maybe we're going to test some of it out, because we don't really know, we've not really had them before to sort of say how closely they are, but we're hoping that we're going to be able to sort of sample these, and we're going to kind of be able to say like, yeah, actually I can see the link there, and it is great for somebody that is a fan of that, or likewise someone that like yourself, Joe, if you're like, oh, I've never really got on with a red wine, but say you want to have a meal, because we always, both of us choose sort of beer over wine most times anyways, you want to have a meal, and the meal's something that pairs really well with red wine, but you don't really want a red wine, what beer could you use instead?
And actually, sneaky, beer actually pairs better with food and cheese and chocolate than wine. Shh, don't tell the wine drinkers, because they will have you believe that wine is superior, and actually because there's no carbonation in wine, other than a champagne, obviously. That's a scrubbing action that actually works really well, and with richer foods, beer is actually better with it, because you've got those bits in it, and there's just some things that wine it just doesn't pair well with some things. Don't tell the wine people, because they get upset. But it's true.
That's the thing though, is like, I know that I've got like big sharing bottles and stuff before. We didn't have it on either of these episodes, but I've got like when Pomona Island's done their like barrel aged release in the past, I've got one that was like a Chardonnay barrel aged, like white wine barrel aged, I think it was a sour that I got, and I got that because I was like, actually, if I'm prepping a meal, if I'm cooking a really nice meal for me and my husband, normally like I want to be that adult. Like, I'm not a very good adult, but I want to be that adult that's like, I've made us dinner and we're going to have some wine with it, but also like I don't really like wine as much as I like beer, so I'm kind of like, we get this nice, like this, we're going to obviously open this in a minute. I won't reveal what it is, but this big sharing bottle, hence why we're doing it in person,
wax sealed as well. It's a fancy one.
But yeah, I mean, this is part of the reason I said we're doing it in person, as big bottles like that, but something like that, you want to take out like a nice bottle and be like, cool, I've made a nice steak, and what can I drink with it besides red wine? So we're going to attempt to crack that mystery today, I think, see if we can find anything that really ticks those boxes.
Let's see.
So we do have cheese, but I mean, I just had food. I don't know if I can bother with cheese.
I think we're going to leave the cheese.
We'll see, maybe we'll see.
Spoiler, maybe we'll do a beer and cheese episode later on for you. I think that'll be good. Yeah, definitely. Do you want to crack open that, and I can sort of crack open this and pour a I have a plastic glass with me because my sister-in-law, I've broken, but all of my in-laws, we break glasses when we have them. We're not very good, so as a joke she got me plastic wine glasses, so I took one with me, and Joe, I didn't bring mine because
she didn't bring hers because
we were going to borrow glasses from somewhere and we didn't. So I've got the tumbler from the hotel room. Actually, it's quite a nice tumbler.
It's quite nice, but don't add it if it's dirty.
Yeah, it's probably going to be dirty. It's got a nice bowled out shape, so probably we will be able to get our noses in there and get a good taste of it.
And I was going to say, to be fair, this is probably, it's plastic. I mean, it's not going to pour as nice as like a nice one.
We are on the road to bring you interesting content. Don't at us, okay?
Yeah, cool. Do you want to sort of open that and dish us out some? Because I'll go through kind of like what I've got down note-wise for red wine. We can go through, we can see. That face was, you just went, no. I tried to get like a decent, tiny red wine bottle as well.
It's just, we'll see when I try it. It's the astringency, I think, of wine that I don't like.
Well, let's see. Don't take any sips yet. Don't take any sips.
I will. Open-minded people. This is what I teach for beer tasting. So
we definitely do. I was going to say, definitely do not just dump the rest of that in my glass. No. So basically, with red wine, sort of, what I found really, really difficult about doing the outlines for both of these episodes was like, there's so much that goes, I don't know if I've already said this before or not, but basically there's so much that goes into like wine itself, and I think one thing that I like really underestimated is how different like each, I thought it was going to be, this sounds really stupid to say this out loud, but I really thought that it was going to be like, red wine, what are taste notes for red wine? And like, yes, they all tend to follow like the same thing. However, it's like, well, are your grapes from a cool climate? Are they from a warm climate? Which country are they from? you know, there's different grapes have the different taste, which that makes sense, but you don't really, I think that you don't really think about that. You just think like, surely there's just got to be an overall guide to,
well, I think
red wine.
So I think this is the thing, isn't it? So something that wine people always talk about is like the terroir of wine, which is basically like the land. So, you know, if your red wine, it can be that your red wine grapes are grown in this field, but actually across the road they're grown over here, but they are completely different because of the soil and the acidity of the soil, the nutrients that they're getting from it, and you know, then the climate, and maybe this side was sunnier than that side was, and you know, that's a big thing in wine. And I think it is starting to come into beer more. We're thinking about where our malt is coming from, where are the hops being grown, what difference does the soil that they're being grown into make, what does the heritage of those hops mean to what's going on in our glasses. So that's coming on, but that has been a big thing in wine for a really long time, which is why they continue to keep telling people that they're the fancy ones.
There's not even that. It's like, it's all that, and then it's something as simple as like, how ripe is the grape? Is it underripe? Is it overripe? Is it just the right? Is it just the right amount of ripe? And that can just make such massive differences. And I think while we know that, it also was something that I just didn't really process until I started to go through this. So the wine that we've got in our glasses is Casillero del Diablo, which is a Cabernet Sauvignon from Chile, a 2021 blend, because obviously the years, or not a blend, but
we're not doing vintages here, people.
Vintage, that's the word I was looking
not
for.
Doing fancy
I'm not covering
vintages.
that. But basically, in doing this research, what I tried to do is pare down, just to explain, I tried to pare down all the top wine grape varieties and get the common tasting notes to sort of go, okay, overall, here is what you can, on the whole, expect. Now, it's not the complete spectrum, but it's the main ones. So the main ones, the most common ones that you're going to find for red wine are, for the grape varieties, are Cabernet Sauvignon, which is like we've got here, which is this one, Pinot Noir, Merlot, Shiraz, or I think Shiraz is how you're supposed to say it. So you can spell it two different ways. It's really interesting. A Malbec and a Bordeaux. So those are kind of the main ones. And then the flavors, like I said, it can vary depending on lots of different things. But the main tasting notes that we're looking for when they're ripe, thematically, are forest fruits. Like you've got your dark fruits, you've got your black currant, black cherry, blackberry, and then you've got your red fruits, which are red cherry, raspberry, strawberry. There's some additional fruits, so that'll be plum and blueberry sometimes. You've got spices, which is like allspice and clove, your baking spices. Forest floor can be a flavor to some of these. So you can get some earthy tones, some mushroomy tones, and I don't like mushrooms, so I'm like not a fan of that.
So is that what they define forest floor as woody and
so it's
mushroomy?
Like mossy, earthy, all that kind of,
that's an interesting
element to it.
I mean, we say woody in beer, so
I think I've actually got wood as a separate tasting note as well to the forest floor. So like forest floor would be like the moss and like forest leaves and that kind of stuff can come through.
That's a fun tasting note.
It is, isn't it? And then you've got pepper, so that can be either like a spicy pepper or peppercorns. Like it can kind of land in different ways depending on the wine. You can get chocolate, you can get vanilla, you can get leather, woody notes, tobacco. It tends to be more rich and velvety, with a higher level, I think, of dryness, really, compared to some of the other ones. And I've also, like, one that I saw that kept popping up that I thought was really interesting, that I couldn't even tell you what it tastes like, is a eucalyptus.
Okay, yeah.
Wouldn't even...
But you've smelt eucalyptus, though. Vapor rub?
Yeah. But,
so that's what it's going to taste like.
Have I? I think I have. I think I could tell you. Like, I know eucalyptus. Like, I think eucalyptus. I think Coalesce.
Yeah, that's what they eat.
yeah. I think that, but like, I've never had it, so like, I couldn't tell you what it tastes like.
You've never had like a vapor rub when you've got a cold.
Yeah, I have, but I think it's really weird because it's very
I can see that.
The thing is it's not what you expect from a red wine, I don't think. Like from my experience of red wine, I wouldn't expect eucalyptus.
Okay.
So I thought that was really, or I never would have thought about that before. Even if I had noticed it, I wouldn't have put that word to it.
Yeah.
So I found that was really, really interesting. When it's not ripe, either over or under, sometimes what you can get is you can get like more green pepper, you can get olives, it can be a bit minty. I think even sometimes when it's the right amount of ripeness, there's minty.
Those are the things that the flavors that I don't like generally in beer. So that's just a bit what I don't like.
It can taste a bit wet or vegetal, which I was like,
See?
You won't like that.
Things
But that is if it's overripe or underripe, not that if it's like
just
the normal level.
Right.
And then the aromas you're going to get, what you should get, and we can see if we can get this, are kind of those tobacco, woody, earthy. Sometimes you can get lead pencil, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Spicy, but also spiced.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it can be jammy, forest fruity, like depending. Sometimes I think it's more like if it's not ripe, it tend to be a bit more jammy.
Yeah.
So I guess what do you like on this? I mean, I'm not going to use proper wine tasting techniques of like put it, take a sip, swirl it around, spit it out in a bucket or anything like that, or sniff it in a weird way.
I'm definitely getting like forest fruit.
Yeah, the fruits are definitely, I think the fruit element of it that I named is kind of definitely like the highest part of it, but I definitely get a bit of spiciness.
Yeah,
and spices,
and I can smell the alcohol.
I do get lead pencil a bit.
Is that because we just read it?
I think it's because I always knew, like I could always
pick out what that was, but didn't know how to.
I couldn't put a name to it, and now I'm like, oh yeah, it does smell a bit like lead pencil, doesn't it? It's a bit weird.
I'm getting a bit woody.
You do get woody. I don't necessarily get that like chocolatey notes on this one, because I said it can vary.
I'm not getting chocolate,
but I definitely don't get chocolate or vanilla on this one. I have had
I did have a wine that was a chocolate wine once.
I almost brought a chocolate wine with me, but then I didn't because I thought that's gonna skew.
But they're a bit, that's not your classic
like
kind of beer. It's a weird specialty beer.
The chocolate wine is very.
There's something I'm getting in here, and now I'm thinking eucalyptus. It's not. It's only because we said it.
It might be though.
Is it floral? Is there something floral in there? Leafy.
I do think it is probably like those earthy, the earthier notes to
moss.
It.
Maybe it's moss.
Moss. There you go. Moss.
Forest floor. I am getting forest floor.
Forest floor. So that, I mean, I definitely think like the smell, obviously, that stacks up.
Yeah,
with what
definitely. I'm tasting it.
Definitely dry.
Yeah.
It's really weird because I feel like I can't explain it because I just go, it tastes like red wine.
I feel like I'm tasting a different fruit than I was smelling.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Like I feel like I'm getting strawberry jam, whereas before I was smelling forest fruits and
cherries, more like cherries, like
and blackberry. And now I taste strawberry jam,
blackcurrant. Before, now it's
it's all right.
It's hard for me to explain because I just go red wine.
Got to come outside of that, Tori. Got to pick it apart. Come on, that's the same as people just go, it tastes like beer. It doesn't just taste like wine. What does it taste like?
Oh, it's really dry.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm getting a bit of wood. Forest. Can you get forest floor in the flavouring? We're looking at our notes.
Yeah, that is literally the tasting notes. All that stuff.
I think I'm getting a bit of that mossiness. Jammy strawberry, bit of mossiness, bit of wood. That's what I'm getting. Have we got actual tasting notes for this bad boy? Does it sound bad?
I don't know. They're on the back of the
cassis and black cherry.
So I didn't know how is it cassis or cassis? Because I was just calling it cassis.
Cassis, which is basically blackcurrant. So I was getting blackberry. So yeah, similar. Black cherry. Yeah. Complemented by hints of coffee and dark chocolate. I'm not getting either of those.
So that was the thing, is like when researching, like you could get coffee, you could get bits, but it wasn't across the board for a lot of them. It's very specific to it's like if you have this grape and it's in a warm climate, you will get this note. So I didn't bother including it because I thought it's not when that sort of like majority rules across them all.
I mean, maybe very light roast coffee, only because I'm looking for it. Like a blonde roast coffee. I'd go more fruity, woody, mossy.
Definitely woody. I can almost get a bit tobacco in it.
Yeah, I can hear that.
It's like, I think when I think of like those tasting notes though, I think of like old men, because it's like leather.
But that's the same. But leather, that's the same. That's the same with an aged beer. You're going to get those notes in like an aged imperial stout. You're going to get them in a barley wine, because that's the way that the malt shifts.
My dad's a big red wine drinker, so I think like I just associate all those with like just my dad.
And this is the thing with alcoholic beverages, they evoke different scenarios and memories in people.
I mean, the thing is as well, like with food pairing wise, they do kind of suggest you do it. I mean, like with anything, you can pair it. You can kind of pair with anything you want, but like the theme that kept coming up was duck, lamb, and steak. So the general rule was like red wines, red meats. But then I did see things that were like totally like you could do a chicken if it was done in this way, and it was like, oh, okay. But the majority rule was sort of red wine, red meat. Yeah. So yeah. And then various cheeses. Like there's any wine. I feel like cheese and wine, safe bet no matter what. So yeah, that is a red wine. Cool. Right. So obviously we've just done red wine. It was natural to do red wine first. And I know everyone's probably like, get into the beers already. And you're like, let's get into the beers. But before we do that, she won't let me. I think we've got to do this rosé. I mean, it's called a white Zinfandel, but I mean, it is a rosé. It's a rosé from Blossom Hill, which is, yeah, I've had it before. It's all right.
Shall I pour while you...
Do you want to pour? Yeah, so the reason like we kind of did the red wine first and then the rosé is because in the research I found that like rosé is kind of like red wine light. The top rosé grape varieties, it's Grenache, Sangiovese. Again, Shiraz is used, or Shiraz. Pinot Noir is used again, and then there's like a few others that there's like various like French ones as well that seem to be the most common ones as well there. So as I said, the difference between red wine and rosé, according to a masterclass, so if masterclass says it, it must be true. Rosé uses red wine grapes and it's produced similarly, but has a reduced time fermenting with grape skins, which gives it a lighter hue, and the flavour is a bit lighter as well, because of the reduced contact compared to red wine. So effectively, I mean, in terms of the tasting notes, you're gonna have like majority is gonna be the same more or less with the red wine in those, but I think it's a bit more, from what I understand, it's similar but a bit more sort of turned down a little bit. Right. But the addition of that, I mean, you're going to get more delicate flavors in there as well. Like there's going to be more floral notes, like you're going to get violet or rose in there. Some additional fruity elements, like you might get orange rind, cranberry, fig. There's some sweeter elements like candied fruit or fruit cake, and then there's the additional spice of anise, and it can be a bit more farmyard than maybe the red wine was. And interesting, I found that there was also noted as roasted pepper. Well, that was quite interesting.
That is interesting.
Interesting, yeah. And I just think overall it's a bit more acidic than red wine, apparently. I don't know, this is just what I found out there on the interwebs, but I'm sure there's going to be a sommelier that's going to be like, that's not true, but that's just what I found. And when it's overripe, it can be a bit more jammy and herbaceous. I just like the word herbaceous, so like I thought I had to mention that because I like the word herbaceous. So again, similar smells, but there's going to be a bit lighter, and yeah, there's just a bit more earthiness to it, and I think you will probably maybe get more of the moss, forest leaves, flint. Something that you can pick up a bit more in this than the red wine. And then just the more like, you know, thyme, anise, floral notes, and then the food pairings, really it's just, it sort of crosses the boundaries between red and white wines.
You can drink it rosé with anything.
I mean, technically you can kind of drink any of them with it, but it seemed like rosé was a bit more
crossing the line
stuff that you would have with white wines, you could have with a rosé if made in the right way. Similar, like it's not just as like you wouldn't be like, oh, pink wine, pink meat. It is like that middle ground, you know what I mean? I know that was a weird way to say it, but it just is the first thing that popped into my head. But yeah, let's see. I think it does say though it's quite frequently paired with like seafood, vegetables, quite light, and grilled meats. But again, I want to preface this again, like I am not an expert, I'm not a sommelier, I don't know that much about wine myself. It's just what I've been found on the Googles. So
that's where you can just
I have been looking at
whatever you like.
I have been looking at like across a spectrum of sites that are reliable sites. I didn't just pull up like yodude.com or something like that. winebro.com or something. This is more, to me, more earthy, like more mossy. I'm getting definitely more mossy.
I get lots more floral, so I'm getting like rose and lily.
I'm getting more delicate fruits, I'm getting more floral, and I'm getting more mossiness in the smell.
I get strawberries, sweet strawberries.
Oh, I love strawberries. Yeah, it's just overall it's a sweeter.
Yeah, and a bit of spiciness. I don't think the alcohol is as in your face.
No, but I do think like the undertones in this reflect more of a red wine.
Yes.
But it is sweeter.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Oh, I do get a bit of spiciness in that.
Yeah. Oh, that's a lot sweeter.
And it is overall sweeter.
That's a lot sweeter.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that.
But it's still quite dry. And I actually don't think this is quite
dry
acidic.
finish.
So
no.
Whether or not that comment about it being more acidic than red wine, like
there may be a touch of acidity, but I think that's probably balancing out the sweetness. It's very floral.
Oh, I just got a lot of strawberry.
Massive
hit of strawberry, which I love strawberries. So
strawberry chewits.
For me, it tastes like when you have prosecco and you put strawberries in your prosecco and you just sort of let it's when you put the strawberries in the prosecco, let it sit there, and then you pick the strawberry out and eat it. So it's a bit of like a boozy strawberry.
I might be getting a little bit of what am I looking for? Not elderflower, hibiscus.
I can see that now.
I'm getting a bit of hibiscus from it.
Yeah, I can definitely get that last bit. Strawberry. I think fruit wise, it's not so much cherry.
Yeah, it's
definitely
strawberry.
Straight strawberry.
Yeah.
And floral. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Agreed. So, all right, this is the moment you're waiting for.
Yay! Let's get to some beers.
I've got the podcast bottle opener.
I've got a women's brew.
I just love the fact that I get the podcast. That this is, to be fair, I did specifically say, can I please have the podcast? Because I thought it'd be really funny.
Yeah. So my lovely husband tried to get us bottle openers. It said a women's brew, the podcast, and the person that he got to make them didn't understand that and just made us a women's brew, the podcast.
But I actually think
you think it's
like
hilarious.
It better. So. I think it's hilarious.
He keeps telling me that he's like, I'm going to get you a set where they're proper, and I was like,
this is proper. I love it. I think
it's amazing.
It showed up, and I was like, Rick, this is the podcast, and he was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand, and I was like, don't worry, I got this. So yeah, the first one we're going to have, we are going to have nearby to me, Dolphin Brewery. It's a red grape sour called Alto. Now, I will preface this with, this is past its BBE.
But it's a sour.
But it's a sour. And also, to be fair, I bought it and saved it specifically because I wanted to have it with you.
Yeah.
Because this one and another one that we've already had in the white wine episode were the last of what was there, and I couldn't get you another bottle. So
she saved it. That's
so
nice,
I did save it. Unfortunately, it's past the BB, but I'm sure it probably tastes fine.
It'll be fine.
And the reason we picked, as I said, it's a red grape sour. So I was just curious to know how similar to a red wine it would be, if it would be something that someone that's into red wine would appreciate. So I'll let you have the honour of cracking it open.
See. It doesn't necessarily smell like red wine, but that doesn't mean anything. Oh, the colour's lovely.
But the thing is, it might be more like a rosé.
Yeah.
So I mean, this whole thing is we're going to find out if they're even similar to a rosé. It might not be.
Glass isn't too dirty.
No, it's not.
That's good. It's because we've had wine in it already.
I mean,
the wine cleared it out.
There's going to be sediment in this, so.
Oh yeah, there is. Oh, it's because I straightened it. I should have kept it.
If anyone's can be trusted to fix it, though, it's you. I feel like if it were me, I'd panic and actually be like, stop it. Vicky, you're so careful.
So what you do is, so I'm going to tell everyone what I was doing, so you know, right? So if you've got sediment in the bottom of your bottle, can't quite see it. When you're pouring from a glass bottle, you can't do this from a can. As it's coming out, you can actually see the sediment and you can see the yeast because there's like it's got like a little bit of a swirl, like there's stuff in it. So as you're pouring, as you start to get to the bottom, you will see it in the beer. So you just stop pouring. Ta-da!
I would have gone into panic mode.
That's a top Cicerone certified beer server tip for you. And also, don't pour and then straighten it back up because then the sediment's going to go into it like I did.
I think that's a mistake people make though, because they think if I just pour it slow enough, then it's fine.
Which is exactly why in Belgium you'll see the lambic baskets, because they sit the bottle on a tilt so that it keeps the yeast and the sediment in the bottom and you're just pouring the beer off of it. Lambic baskets, fun times. So it looks like a dark.
It looks like a slightly darker than a rose. It looks like a darker spectrum rosé,
but it's lighter than a
red one.
Yeah, it's got.
You can't see through it. It is quite.
Yours has got quite a nice white foamy head on it. Mine's gone, but that's because I've got a rubbish glass.
I mean, my glass isn't exactly the best. I'm drinking out of a. I will just preface this by saying, like, this is not my most feminist glass. I didn't buy this for myself. I really respect my in-laws and their ability to be like, please stop breaking glasses, here you go. But it does have like perfume and purses and shoes and necklaces on it. And it's a wine glass. So not my most feminist positive glass, but
fine. It's got quite a light aroma.
I do get like quite light sweet fruits, to be fair. I'm not so much like heavy strawberry, but I almost get a bit of melon.
I'm getting a bit of strawberry.
I get strawberry, but I it's almost more delicate than than the rosé that we just had strawberry. I would say like already from the aroma, this definitely leans more towards the rosé spectrum than the red one, which I thought red grape, that could be sort of anything.
I think I'm getting a bit of that mossiness.
Getting a bit like floral elements to it, like that hibiscus note that you were saying.
Herbaceous.
Cheers, going in. We can do that now because we're in person.
Oh, it's very carbonated. It has got that dryness like the red wine.
Get blackcurrant in it.
Yeah. Or blackberry.
The reason I think blackcurrant is it's when I go to this place that does snake bites, and I have to get a snake bite. Is that element of blackcurrant in it, and it's always super like acidic, like carbonated acidic like nature to it as well, because it's like
you're getting that
because it's like the cider and the beer and the like but it's not like a snake bite because it's not that full well-rounded flavor, but it's that blackcurrant element.
It's that cidery like acidity that's in there with the fruitiness. I'm getting a bit to me it's playing out as bramble, blackcurrant. I can see that more than blackcurrant, but I think they're very similar flavors, so it depends on how you pick those up.
But I think it's probably also like what you're associated it with. It's like my association of this, it's landing in the same way as a snake bite, like a proper snake bite, not what the US tries to pass off as a snake bite.
It's nice though.
It's nice.
What ABV is this? Let's have a look.
I don't know. Good question.
5.6.
Okay.
And it says it's lightly carbonated grape sour that has a wine-like character, primarily as a result of the conditioning on red grapes. So the beer would have been made and then it would have been put onto the grapes in the fermenter. Secondary additions of black currants and blueberries.
Oh, I do get the blueberry actually.
There you go. And layers of fruitiness that will awaken your taste buds, with grape tannins providing a perception of dryness. That'll leave you eager for another sip.
I do get like blueberries, but blueberries when they are that perfect amount of ripeness that you really get like the sweetness in there. Like not when they're like a lot of times you can get blueberries and they're not sweet enough. Maybe they're a bit underripe or but this is like really fully. I do get full blueberries in that.
This is lovely.
I'm quite enjoying it.
And I think if you liked a rosé, you would definitely enjoy this. It's very
definitely would say.
Obviously it's more carbonated. So if you're not much for carbonation, then that's.
I would kind of say
probably
if
a
you
thing.
like cider,
cider, or if you like a sparkling
rosé,
then this is this. You wouldn't, if we put this in front of you and we just told you it was a sparkling rosé, you would believe this.
I probably would actually.
Yeah.
I think if you gave this to me and if you told me it was either a cider or a sparkling rosé, or you told me it was like a rosé cocktail of such,
yeah,
I'd believe that more than I think maybe I wouldn't automatically go beer.
No, it's got a really nice dry finish actually. Yeah,
I mean, like I said, even though it's past like BBE, like it still tastes really lovely.
Sours just develop because obviously they've got that bit of it's got lactobacillus in it, so that will just continue to do things.
I do think you can definitely taste the beer element to it.
Yeah,
but I think it's not difficult to suspend your belief that it's not beer.
No,
if somebody told you that and you had no idea and you didn't see the bottle, definitely. I think you'd be like, oh, interesting. But knowing what it is, I can definitely taste the beer element, and it's really nice. I feel like in the sun.
Yes, this would be a really good.
We need to get like a heat lamp in here or something like that, and then pretend we're in the sun, and I think it would be beautiful. Yeah. I really hope they make more of these in future.
Yeah,
because
Dolphin are a nice like up and coming brewery. I've not had a lot of theirs. Are they your way?
They are. Yeah.
Yeah. I just need to eat.
They are indeed, and I got these before they had stopped brewing for a bit because I think they got new kit. So they had stopped their brewing so they could get the new kit in, and they could get it all settled before they started brewing again. Yep. Saying that, I have just picked up the other day, I think, a ginger sour from them. Because I thought it would be interesting. I like just when I see something that's like a sour, like especially sours, because you can do so many interesting things with sours and have them something that you might not normally like, but when it's in a sour, the way it's balanced out, can land like really good. So anytime I see something that's like something interesting, it's a sour, I usually go for it. And I don't know, I just happened to be at the Hive and I saw, oh cool, there's a new Dolphin, I'll pick that up, and oh, it's ginger, okay, cool, that could be interesting. So
yeah, I've definitely developed my enjoyment of ginger as a flavour, because I never used to really like it, but I do enjoy it more now than I used to.
Say, like, I mean, I still have times where if it's too harsh of a ginger, I can't do it. Yeah, it has to be like, it can't be like for lack of a better way, an aggressive ginger. Yeah. Because I think sometimes it can, when it's almost too spicy, I guess. Yeah. And then it's just like, I like when it's nice and balanced. Yes. Finished that Dolphin. That was really nice. I wish there was more of it. It was just like a 330ml bottle. And I really wish that was like, I really wish it was like at least a 375 or like a 500ml. That was like easy peasy. That would go down so good. Next one we're going to have is Blood Eagle from Holy Goat Brewing, and that is a barrel-aged Flanders Red with plums. Specified with plums. I like the artwork on it. Yeah, that's cool. Let's have a look at this. I think so as I said, we're in Sheffield. We just came from Hop Hideout, which is brilliant. If you are in Sheffield, check it out. It's in the commune. We are staying literally like across the road, right across the road from it, which is great. We saw Jules. She's fucking great. Hi, Jules. So it's amazing selection of beer as well. So I mean, I just picked up, speaking of the Flanders Red, I just picked up Abbeydale's Chapter 7 Sheffield Red. I saw it because of the label. I'm so jealous that you picked it up. Because I love it. If you're watching it was there before the video. I thought you'd already seen it because you went through all the fridges first. No, I've missed it because I was specifically looking for it. It's okay, because I'm going to go to Beer Central without you tomorrow while you're working, and I'm going to go buy it from there. A bit rude, but okay. But let me know what you want and I'll buy you some stuff. Thank you, that's very kind of you. But yeah, you had gone through the fridges already. I know, I just missed it. There's a barrel-aged sour, and this is also, it says, began as one of the first brews ever, inspired by Flanders Red style. So I thought, gonna pick that one up. Cool label. Shall I tell you a little bit about Flanders Red? I think you should, and why? Because I know a lot of people associate Flanders Red. I had the Duchess with you. My first time ever having it, my first and only so far time having the Duchess. And it went really well with cheese. Only had it once. But why do people say that it's so closely aligned with red wine palates? So it is described. I pulled out my phone, pulled out the
the old BJCP app, although my app is still only on 2015, not 2021 ones, but they're basically the same.
This is like heavy tobacco.
Yeah. So a Flanders Red is obviously it's Belgian beer. It's a sour, fruity red wine like Belgian style ale. So it's they say it's like a red wine because it's got a dry finish and tannin complexity. So we talked about tannins in the white wine episode. That's that kind of astringency, and that is in this beer as well. It's also got a lot of fruitiness to it, and it is soured with Acetobacter. So that will give you a vinegar-like sour note, but it shouldn't taste like vinegar. What instead, but what you'll get instead is balsamic vinegar. So you're going to get like that sweetness and that touch of vinegary sourness, but it's not going to be like you are drinking vinegar. But that is what gives it what people think of it as similar to wine, because it's got all those complex notes in it. Also, they are aged in oak foeders. So rather than it being like a barrel, a foeder is like taller, and they are put in these specifically because Acetobacter likes that shape to ferment in. Rather than being on its side, they are kind of straight up rather than laying horizontally. And in particular, Acetobacter likes to develop in that direction. So it's
weird.
picky.
Science is weird, man.
It's a picky bacteria. It likes to work that direction rather than so up like a upright shaped vessel rather than on its side vessel. But yeah, it's got those notes.
It's literally, so I do get the vinegary, I get heavy tobacco, I get plums.
There's wood in this as well.
I get wood, I get spicy,
so all the things that we said about with red wine is going to be in 100%.
This. Like I think this actually has more of some of those like notes that I usually associate with red wine than that red wine had.
Yeah, like mossy, maybe a bit of green pepper.
It's so weird, isn't
Definitely
it? But then there
tobacco.
is like in the very subtle, way in the background, like if you were at a concert, this would be like way in the nosebleeds, you get like a little bit of sweetness of fruit, but I think it is more like plums, and it is more like dark fruits than it is like the sweeter, brighter fruit. And
so this is a blend as well. It's not straight, it's Flanders Red and a British stock ale. So a stock ale is basically, it's an ale that's been left to age. So it's a blend of those, plus it was then aged on plums. So pretty complex. Holy Goat are just creating some absolute bangers, I think.
Yes, the beer was then blended 70-30 with 2-year-old amber sour beer aged rye whiskey barrels.
Oh, yeah, see, I'm getting those barrels.
Yeah, not so much the actual like whiskey. I always get a bit of ginger though.
Yeah, spiciness. Definitely getting
and
that from the wood. I'm getting the oak wood.
I get a very, very light floral, like very subtly floral note in mine as well.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to see like tobacco and spicy and those notes, and then also have that tiny bit of like sweetness and floral in there.
Yeah, its color isn't as red. It's kind of a reddy amber more than the red wine and the others were. I'm going to taste it because she's taking too long, so I'm going to taste it.
Sorry, I'm trying to see if there's anything else. The plums were smoked, so that might add some, because I was going to say like I wouldn't say it's definitely I wasn't going to say smoky came into my mind, but I was like, but it's not overly smoky, but it says right here subtle smoke from it because the plums were smoked.
So while we're talking about smoked plums then, Three Hills has just put out a smoked plum, is it Baltic Porter?
Yeah, should have gotten that because I was at Hop Hider as
I got that one.
Oh Joe, you didn't tell me about
Yes, I did.
one.
I was just like, here's this one, and you were not.
She wasn't paying attention. I was too busy picking out my Flanders Red.
She wasn't paying attention because she was buying that one and I bought the other one. But yeah, so that is available if you can't get this one. Three Hills have done one.
Holy Goat just makes such really good.
This is really,
it's very smoky. Is this? It's very smoky. I do get the vinegariness towards the back end.
ABV 6.66.
Doesn't, yeah.
I love it.
I was going to say it doesn't taste like it's fairly light tasting in terms of ABV.
And
it doesn't taste particularly high.
Considering its complexity, you could session that.
I will say, this is one of the more complex beers that I've had. Like, I feel like there is a lot going on to take in terms of aroma and taste.
And it's got rye in it, so that's going to add some spiciness as well. So many things going on. It's lovely.
I feel like the smoke, the funkiness, there's funkiness to it. Sour, vinegary. It's not massively sour, but there is like this with the funkiness, kind of hand in hand with the funkiness, is a bit of like sour element to it. But I think also that kind of, it's also next to like all the flavors that kind of go together that are coming through at the same time for me are like funky sour vinegar. Those three together are it's hard to separate one from the other. It's similar how beautiful. When you have something that's really carbonated, it can also come across like quite dry, and it's really hard to separate like what the dry from the carbonation. That's kind of how I feel about those three flavors together.
It's really lovely.
It's just very interesting, like really interesting.
If you're a red wine drinker, I think you would drink it and go, yeah, that's all right. I think you would still say it's a beer though.
I get tobacco-y in the taste as well. I think it's the smokiness. You also get the tobacco-y with it.
I think a red wine drinker would recognise flavours and notes in that, but it is still a beer. So you could turn them on to potentially, if they enjoy those sorts of flavours, you could turn them on to sour beers with this. But yeah, I think a die-hard red wine drinker is going to be like, nah.
Well, yeah, I think I agree. But then I also think like if you have somebody that's a red wine drinker that also really likes beer.
Yeah, this was
complex beer, not like I drink a Foster's and a Carling at the weekend sort of thing. Like somebody that's in the craft beer space, but also has a real appreciation for
they'd really enjoy this
wine. Like I do 100% think that somebody like that would really enjoy the complexities of this and would be able, like you said, would be able to pick those out. And like you said, you could give it to a red wine drinker who would be like, yeah, I notice those things. Depending on the drinker and the type of red wine they like, they may like it more or less. I think they'd appreciate it and they could understand the similarities there.
I think this beer would hook a red wine drinker in more than giving them a lager.
But I also think likewise, I don't think this beer is necessarily for every beer drinker.
Oh no, definitely not. Like you're not going to be like, you're not going to grab your lager drinker and be like, have this. You are not going to convert them to craft beer with this, unless they are particularly into funky flavors. Like it's interesting. It's something you've got to build up to.
I've just been really loving Holy Goat. Like
their beers are amazing. They are.
And they always do such interesting
I don't use this word lightly because I don't really like it, but
what are you gonna say?
They are creating bangers. I don't really use the word banger, but I think they are making bangers.
Oh, that's not even just the beer talk. We're only on beer number 2, right?
I think they do.
I do, honestly. They are really good, and they, like I said, I feel like they always have something creative and interesting. I see it and I go, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I can't wait to find out what that's going to taste like. I know it's going to be quite high quality because I feel like they do produce very high quality beers.
So I'm reading the label and it says drink young or aged. This will get weirder.
I want to buy another one now though.
So I've got one. Should we lay it down?
Should we have another? We can have a follow-up session. Age it. We'll have a follow-up session where we pair it with cheese.
Love it.
Yeah. Verdict on this one.
2 big thumbs up.
I think it's definitely 2 big thumbs up if you are interested in similar tasting notes of wine. You want to pair it. I think this would be something that I would probably pair similarly with maybe something I have, depending on what it was. I'd maybe be able to pair that with food that's similar to what I pair red wine with.
Because it's got that stock ale in it with crystal and amber. That caramel notes in it, that is going to bring out the caramelization on a roasted meat. Perfect.
This is when you say crystal and amber, it just sounds like 2 people's names. With crystal and amber, good old crystal and amber. But yeah, I think brilliant, love it. Perfect. I want to buy another one. Holy Goat,
2 thumbs up.
Drink him. complex. While Joe is opening up the Wineybeast
with a spoon, because we
forgot the. Neither of us brought a butter knife. I didn't even think of it because I did. Wax
I thought of it last night as I was going to bed, and I was like, "You need to put a butter knife in." Did I? No,
she did not. But yeah, when we were at Hop Hideout, I got another one, which was the Sour Wars episode 2, Attack of the Stones. That is Emperors, Steel City, and Lost Industries. And the reason I thought it was relevant to share now is because it's a sour, but it does say, I like this. The beer was, so I'll read the whole thing out, please. It says, episode 2, Attack of the Stones, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. No, wait, it was a few months ago in Sheffield. 3 brewers came together to make crazy things happen. The stout reserves exhausted.
The stout reserves exhausted?
Yes. Sorry. It's difficult to read because it's basically written like Star Wars.
So so you got...
Their stout reserves exhausted. That or they ran out of names. They turned to the sour side. The beer was then sealed in carbonite, a Bordeaux wine, red wine barrel with cherries. So I've picked this one, obviously, because, I thought Bordeaux red wine barrels, cherries, that's like perfect. Obviously, we're not going to open this now. I'm going to save it for Star Wars Day. So, but I do like that on the back, it says, best before the planet explodes.
Yes! That's
so
amazing.
That is pretty great. I'm excited to try this, especially now after doing this episode and having a better understanding of the technicalities of what I'm supposed to look out for. So yeah,
if you want to know how to get into a wax seal bottle, there is a video about it on my YouTube channel.
This is the Wineybeast blended wine barrel stout from Wild Beer Co. And the alcohol percentage on this is 10.5%. And Joe's just given me basically what I have for an actual wine.
Sorry.
Wineybeast.
Look at the legs on it.
Ooh, it smells so it smells chocolatey.
It does smell chocolatey. But I'm also getting a bit of that red wine. I'm getting the red wine.
The red wine for me. So I think if I'm rating it based on visuals of the bottle, I'm like 10 out of 10. I'm there. I can see it.
Yeah.
It's got the red wax seal on it. It's just a very luxurious looking bottle. Pouring it. Yeah. It did feel like there were some red highlights coming out, a bit like deep red highlights coming out of it. Yeah. It looked like it until it finished pouring and you had that beige mocha, almost mocha coloured
head on it.
Look at the legs. And it's very dark. Yeah,
it's so much alcohol.
In this glass.
Yeah.
I can even get it in this glass, which isn't great.
So someone actually asked me a question about legs the other day because I'm doing a beer word of the week. And I did Esther's and someone was like, is that what causes legs? No. So you see where this is clinging to the glass. If I turn it like this, if you're watching the video, you tilt it and pull it back down and then you can see like a film left on the glass, and that's actually the alcohol in the beverage.
So actually it's in wine as well. So if you swirl your glass of wine, which I guess we probably should have
when I was doing it, I was tilting it to the side. So if you watch the video, you'll see me tilting it and pulling it back to see the legs appear. So with wine, when you've got a high alcohol, when you've got a high alcohol beverage, you can tilt it and you can see the legs, and that means it's got a lot of alcohol in it, basically.
And so that's the way, with wine, when you do the swirly and you see it, how quick or slow it moves down, or how long it lasts on there and moves down. I think in terms of smell, I get a lot of rich cacao. Yeah, I would say not even a light chocolate, a full on rich cacao nib. But like you said, those elements of the red wine, I feel like they are very subtle in the undertones of it.
It's what I always think of as the tannins, but it's not tannins, is it? It's the oakiness, the woodiness, the probably the forest floorness.
I want to say smoky, but it's not really smoky. Yeah. It's like the wood.
Is it the wood and the leather? Maybe
the wood and the leather, but it's how the wood and the leather tobacco would be more if it was that level of smokiness, not an actual when we talk about smoked beer. It's not like that.
No, it's not like a smoked beer, right?
It's just so nice to smell, isn't it?
Yeah, it smells lovely. Right, we're going in. That does not taste like 10%.
It doesn't taste like a stout. It doesn't taste like what I was expecting in stout terms either. It does taste quite rich.
It's rich.
I think you could give that up from first sip.
Yeah.
Now this might change as we're drinking it. From first sip, I would feel like you could give that to a red wine drinker.
Oh, definitely.
And they would be like, especially if it was a chocolate red wine.
Yeah.
I feel like you could give that to them and they'd be like, yeah, actually, I'm on board with this.
Yeah, very much so.
I'm actually getting some roast. I'm getting coffee and roastiness in this.
Yeah, there's coffee and roastiness in it.
It's not so overt.
Yeah, it's not aggressive.
It's a nice compliment, and more so for me, it's coming through more so in the aftertaste than it is immediately in the taste.
Yeah, and so the label says the big chocolate character is balanced by California Cabernet Sauvignon acidity, fermented in foeder. So that again, foeder, that's the tall ones rather than barrels, and that's in. So rather than it being laid on its side, it's kind of straight up and down, and it's aged in red wine barrels. So it was in foeder, it was fermented in foeder, and then it was aged in red wine barrels. So those barrels are going to have some of the red wine soaked into the staves, and the beer, when it's aging, it gets pushed in and out of the wood just naturally, gets soaked in and then pushed back out again. And so it's going to soak up some of that red wine. It's going to soak up the chemicals that are in the wood. So, you know, good chemicals like you're going to get vanilla, you're going to get the oakiness. Sometimes when it's left long enough, you can get coconut as well.
I do get vanilla, like I do get very lightly vanilla.
It's in the oaky
yeah, and I think it is.
Staves.
It's the same vanilla you do get from wood, effectively. But it's interesting because obviously vanilla tends to get quite lost. But I do find when you have that more woody element, it can stick out a lot more. Yeah.
It's
big,
still
rich,
relatively dry.
There's a big chocolate character balanced by California Cabernet Sauvignon acidity, fermented in foeder and aged in red wine barrels. We blended 1 and 2.5-year-old beers to make this remarkably complex imperial stout.
That's something that I really like about Wild Beer Co. is they've got their barrel library, and so they take
interesting their stuff is.
Yeah, and so they take from different barrels and blend them together to make what the final character that they really want.
I do like that they always do like really funky. They do, like, when I say funky, I don't mean like, oh, interesting. Wow, like as in like genuine like funky bits.
They have actual funky
like Brettanomyces beers, like those ones.
Yeah.
And it's always really interesting stuff. But honestly, I thought maybe my opinion would change as I drink it, but like, no, I genuinely think this is a stout that you could give someone that doesn't normally drink stouts, but does drink red wine. And I really think that they actually could appreciate it differently to that like Flanders Red, where they go, oh, I can understand the similarities, I don't like that. This, I think there's maybe less similarities in terms of like the picking out of individual flavors. I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase it, but less. I got this, and this, but more just the blend of it as a whole.
Yeah, definitely.
And they could, and I think people would actually genuinely be like, I quite like that.
And I think the mouth feel on this is more like a red wine, whereas the Flanders Red was a bit thinner. Like, not in any detriment to the beer, just the style in particular is lighter than, you know, a big old fat imperial stout. And there's less carbonation in this one,
I think,
which is going to be reminiscent of a wine.
If you're looking for like, if you're getting a stout, an imperial stout, and you're like, oh, I want like a thick boy with like 3 C's in it. Like, this is not.
It's still not that. Yeah, it's not like it's not chewy.
It's not going to be that thick boy,
no,
but there is like a really substantial body to it.
So
I could easily.
We are in. So as we have said, we are in a hotel, and we got a little mini pub,
business class, so that we could get the green and blacks.
We got a green and blacks bit of chocolate here. It's a milk chocolate.
We're super posh now.
37% cocoa, so probably a dark chocolate would be better with this, but we're going to try this beer with the chocolate as well, because, you know,
we did this on the fly.
Why not? Right.
It's that aftertaste. It's really winey.
It's got tiny little. It's got tiny little.
Oh, I love it.
Tiny little squares.
I'm gonna take a photo of that. I like that.
Okay. So I would probably pair a dark chocolate with this more than a white. I'd probably pair a dark chocolate with this more than a milk, but it's what we've got, so let's give it a go.
How would you do it? Like, would you take a sip first? Would you eat this first?
Put the chocolate in your mouth, structure in it, let it kind of melt on your tongue, but don't swallow it.
That's really an
then drink
instruction.
Then wash it away with the beer.
I can't help it. I want to eat it. It's really nice.
Ooh, Ooh.
I'm struggling to just suck on it and not eat it.
Just drink your beer.
Bit of ASMR for you. Anyone that's watching this. I think maybe I'm just not sophisticated enough, because for me, I still distinctly like they match together well.
Yeah.
But for me, it's still very distinctly like there's milk chocolate in my mouth, and I just took a sip of beer.
But I think the chocolate is dulling down the chocolate in the beer. You're getting more
of the red wine notes out of it.
More of the red wine notes out of it. And a little bit more of the acidity. Because where that chocolate note has balanced and has complemented, it's kind of crossed each other out. So then you're getting the other notes of the beer through.
I mean, I do think that the more I drink it, the more it tastes like red wine.
Yeah.
This is insane. Because it's a stout, but it's not a stout, is it? It is, but it's. I honestly think I could share this with my dad, who would not touch, like, he has tried to try, like, he's tried beer. He's just not a beer drinker. He's like a whiskey guy, a rum guy, like, wine, like, that's his thing. Is that I'm trying to think, like
this.
Captains in Coke, like, that's the kind of stuff that he drinks. And I really think that if I gave him this, and I didn't even tell him, he loves a Malbec. I really think if I gave him this, he would be like, if I didn't tell him it was a stout, this is probably the first one that I think, if you put this in front of me in a wine glass like this, if I was blindfolded, because when I look
it's a bit
at
dark but
when I look at it, there's like the head on it, everything, like, I would know it was a stout. I'd look at it and I'd go, that's probably a stout.
Yeah.
But if I was blindfolded and I tasted this, I would guess that it was a red wine.
Yeah.
Over a stout.
Yeah.
Even in the smell.
It's really good.
Really easy to drink for 10.5%.
Yeah. Dangerous.
And the final beer.
Final beer. So, final beer
You're going to talk to us about
I am. So this is Coalesce by 6 Degrees North, and it is Solera number 3. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about.
Can I just preface this by, I had no idea that, like, Solera was like a thing. I thought it was like the ice lollies, like Solero. Yeah, I was like, Solero.
Yeah,
and I
mean, literally, when I hear Solera, that's what I think. So on the can, this says the Solera project continues with our Aberfeldy 18-year sherry butt being filled with Inertia Imperial Stout. This was added to the base mix of triple and general classification from the previous batches, adding a greater balance of roasted malt and caramelized sugar, leading to muted sherry notes, spice, a slightly tart sharpness, and a tannin-filled finish. So there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. So
I feel like a lot of those, like the notes that you named on that, were similar.
Yeah.
To notes that I named going through red wine.
Yeah.
And sherry.
So I think we need to talk about Solera brewing. Because there's a lot. You do that. So traditionally, the Solera process is used for sherry. So what happens is it is a method that's used in sour beer brewing. And you fill a single fermenter with the sour beer, and then every 6 to 12 months you take a third or a half of the beer out and package it. And then sometimes it says, I'm reading my notes as I do this, it says it can be as much as 70% is taken out, and then you top it back up with more stuff. So there's no defined rule for how much people can take out. It's up to the brewer, obviously. And then with sherry, it's a maximum of 35% that's taken out. Apparently that's a legal requirement, although 10 to 15% is more typical. And then other wine styles, it will define on the packaging what they've done. But this means that then there is a constant sour beer in that fermenter that can be topped up with various things, and the brewer can mix in different batches to see what happens. So where it says on this can it was added to the base of the triple and the general classification. Those will be other beers that 6 Degree North have had in that fermenter, and they've gradually mixed different things, which is really interesting.
This smells the most like red wine, even more than Wineybeast.
Ooh.
Because I feel like the Wineybeast had a layer of chocolate, like at least
it's
initially
got proper chocolate.
Had a layer of chocolate and like roastiness. This doesn't, even though this is a stout as well, like it doesn't have that same, like this just smells straight up like red wine.
Okay. Yeah, it does.
And I feel like I don't need to elaborate all the individual scents in it. This is literally taking it right back, like
we've definitely got let's go.
I think there's maybe on this one a slight bit more towards the end sweetness to it, actually, in comparison to this. But really take a huff of that and then smell that.
Take a huff of that.
Huff and wine, like the adults we are.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's more. I'm getting more fruit out of that one.
But I do.
But I'm getting the barrel. Whatever they put it in
the glass. When this was in the glass, it didn't have as much sweetness as it has like straight out the bottle. And this is probably the one that smells the most. Yeah, anyone to see the label of it in case they're wondering.
Coalesce.
Yeah, I'm gonna think. No, actually, this is still in date, but I don't think you can buy that anymore because I bought that.
Did you buy it a while ago?
Quite a while ago. Right. But I've been aging it because
SARS guys, you can't try this one.
I mean, you might be able to.
You might be
able
really
to.
Sure. Might be able to. They might often places hold some back and then put them out depending on how they want to age them.
To be fair, this is like number 3, so
so there's probably different ones. And because they've got this Soleras, if they've got a Solera system in place, they may well be adding different things to it to try different things. You can add either fermented beer into that or wort. So it depends on what they want, whether they want to put the young beer in from the wort, like let directly in, and let that ferment with whatever else is in there, or whether they want an already fermented beer and mix it in. Depends on what they want to make. Apparently adding the wort can add lots of trub. If you've not heard us use that word before, trub is like the yeast and solids, proteins, hops, possibly solids that are dropped out when beer is fermenting. All of that kind of drops to the bottom and it's called trub. It's really gross.
I think like what I would say is like there's less. I took a sip of it. Sorry, I cheated. I think in the aroma there's less of the fruitiness, like a heavy fruitiness, like the sweet fruitiness in this, as like you maybe had it from the bottle of that. But there's more of the spices, like the baking spices that are coming.
Yes,
I'm getting more cinnamon and more allspice.
A bit nutmeg, maybe.
Nutmeg, I'm getting.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting more spice.
Pumpkin spice range, for lack of a better way to describe it.
That's our fave. I love pumpkin. I mean, if you're just joining a Woman's Beer podcast and you haven't realised that we love
pumpkin spice, like pumpkin.
Don't get out. Just realise that we love a bit of pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice is the best spice range. And if you don't agree with that, you're wrong.
This is really lovely, and I think I definitely think a red wine drinker would enjoy this. But
in terms of taste, I think it smells more like wine than it tastes. Like it tastes like wine, but I don't think it's interesting because I think the smell of Wineybeast smelled slightly like I would say in terms of ranking against red wine drinkers would like both.
Yes.
Craft beer drinkers, the right ones, would like both.
Yeah, because it like with craft, it depends on what styles
if you're a crossover, like. If you
like a bit of everything, then that's fine. These are very particular types of beer. Like they're dark and they're funky and they've got a bit of acidity and they've got a bit of fruitiness to it. Like if you like your hazy boys and you've not really
if that's all you like
and you've not really edged out of that yet, you might not like these. But try it and you might get into something new.
But I think it's interesting because like I think the first one we had not so much. So just to recap, I think the Dolphin Brewery is great if you love like sparkling rosé.
Definitely.
But again, like you're not gonna if you're told that it's sparkling rosé, you might go, oh, okay, that's fine. But if you know that it's a beer, like if you're buying the beer bottle, you're gonna definitely go, yeah, that's a beer.
Yeah.
What are we looking for? What else do we have? Oh, Flanders Red.
Yep.
you'll taste similar notes to red wine. It will be able to accomplish similar types of things a red wine drinker might appreciate it. Will it pass as a red wine? Like, no, probably not. Maybe like a specific type
possibly
of red wine.
I think it's a little bit too thin, a little bit too carbonated, a little bit too acidic, but a red wine drinker may appreciate it.
Will understand the connection.
Yes.
There is a connection there, more so maybe than the Dolphin. The Wineybeast, I think really it's between the Wineybeast and the Coalesce. That's the most wine-like.
Yes, I think
because
so.
even though they're stouts, they still taste more like wine. But I do think if we're ranking them next to each other, Wineybeast maybe tastes more like a red wine initially.
Are we calling this?
Smells.
Is this an imperial stout? Is that what we're calling Coalesce?
It's a stout.
So this is listed as an imperial stout.
The more I'm drinking it though, the more that it is. I feel like this and Wineybeast are on par with each other, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Where I'm getting initially, if I go off initial feedback, the Wineybeast initially smelled less like a stout but tasted more, and this smelled more but tasted less like a red wine. But now actually I think it evens out, and I'm getting the roastiness and the chocolate notes out of the smell. And I think actually they are kind of even ground, where they both have that same red wine quality and taste.
I feel this one's got a little bit more bitterness to it, and maybe a touch more acidity, but that's just what differentiates them. I think this might be my beer of the day.
I don't know. I think Wineybeast might be mine, because I think that's more. I would say that it's a.
I mean, I really like it, but I think I like this the most.
Maybe.
Although, did you know what? We've just had really good beers today, because the Holy Goat was really good.
All
too.
of them were really good. Dolphin was really. I don't think we had one today that I'd be like, yeah, it was fine. I think they were all really
all
good.
Of them were really good.
And I think they all have their time in the sun.
Yeah.
Literally. Dolphin, if it was sunny out, that would be the pick.
Yeah.
If I was having cheese and crackers and having like people around, I'd go with the Flanders Red.
Yeah.
And then if I just wanted a really good red wine, it would really be between Wineybeast and Coalesce.
Wineybeast, like literally, I think if someone was like, I like red wine, what beer would you recommend?
I think that takes the slight edge for me, because you're right. I think this is slightly more bitter and slightly more roasty,
and it's a little bit. It's a touch thinner. Like no detriment to the beer. It's just a touch thinner, and I think Wineybeast,
which is fine. But if we were looking, the thing is, if we're looking to compare it to a red wine, I think the Wineybeast has a very, very, very tiny minimal edge.
And this has a touch more carbonation to it. Got lovely legs on it. If you're watching the video.
But also, this is a 9.6.
It doesn't drink a 9.6.
It does not. And the Wineybeast is a 10.5, and that does not drink like a 10.5.
We've had a good evening today, everybody. We've had a lovely evening.
All right. Should we go?
Yeah, I think we're going to go finish.
There's nothing else to say, because I think if we wrap it up, really, I don't think I could pick a top one, because they're so varied.
I think our conclusion is there is beer that is comparable to wine, if that's what you're looking for. So if
you want to convince your friend, or you want to get more into beer, or you want to get more into wine, or you want a substitute, a beer substitute for wine, I think there are options.
There are definitely options. And I think this is the thing, like there is so much. There's really interesting wines, there's really interesting beers. Like, don't cut yourself off from trying different things and just giving it a go. If it's there and you've got the option to try it, then give it a go.
And I genuinely don't think I could pick my top. Literally, it all depends on the circumstance and what I want.
Yeah, because they were all really good. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying the 6 Degree North, because I think it's the last one I've got. So
we're gonna finish these.
Yep.
Go out for dinner. Have a nice evening. Yeah. Like the posh ladies we are, with our red wine and everything else. We are distinguished ladies.
I don't think that's true.
It's true. We're gonna go do that. We're gonna enjoy our night.
Apparently that's true.
Don't sell us short.
Okay.
And then hopefully we'll come back to you later as well with an episode on spirits and beers. So
because I think we can find some
spirits and beers and cheese tasting
and cocktails inspired beers.
We've got some more. So obviously we've done the white wine and sparkling wine, we've done the red and rosé, but we're going to come back to you with some more stuff that's more non-beer cocktail, like non-beer spirits, beer stuff.
Yeah.
In my very very great way of phrasing that, as I do.
Tori, Tori, if people want to talk to you about your beer selection that you found in Sheffield today, where can they find you?
If you want to talk to me about my beer selection from Sheffield, or also the majority of this beer selection, because actually
all of these were from you,
except the Wineybeast.
Oh, Wineybeast, I grabbed the Wineybeast. Yeah, that's right.
If you want to talk about the beer selection, full stop, which is the majority mine.
Yeah, she had a good one today.
I did really good
today.
Did
really well.
Pat on the back.
Yeah.
If you want to chat to me about all that, you can find me at adventures_in_optimism on Instagram, and I've got a link tree that goes to other things. But
and you're on TikTok. She's got some good TikToks.
It's not great. It's not great. You can find them on my Instagram.
Don't sell yourself short.
You can find them on my Instagram anyways. It's mostly dog stuff and the occasional stupid beer one, but it's cool. Joe, people want to talk to you about where they can learn about like fooders and all this interesting super science stuff.
Yeah, if you want to come talk to me, you can come talk to me at A Woman's Brew. That's pretty much been taken over by the podcast, which is fine.
There's going to be changes coming soon.
Yeah, changes are coming. We keep saying this.
Or maybe it is.
It might be. We don't know. It might be because we're doing this in advance. We're having a bank session. So you can come to A Woman's Brew. That is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm also at my beer school, Love Beer Learning, which is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Pinterest. We've got all the things going on. Interestingly, if you would like to, we've been like tasting these beers, we've been smelling them, we've been getting properly into them today, and we did into the wine as well. If you want to find out a bit more about that, if you go to Love Beer Learning, you'll find in my links I now have a beer tasting mini course for free that you can take, so to up your beer tasting game. So come and find that, or you can also come to my website, lovebeerlearning.co.uk, and you can email us lovebeerlearning@gmail.com. We're currently taking emails for the podcast there, so if there's anything, A Woman's Brew, the podcast. If you're watching the video, we've got our matching bottle openers there.
I will forever be the podcast.
You will. Let us know what other episodes you want to see. You can email us at lovebeerlearning@lovebeerlearning.gmail.com, and we will do an episode for you. So on that note, cheers.